All right, welcome to Be the Market Expert. And guys, as we're looking at this thing, I was kind of just looking around for just real estate news, and I landed on this article from Bankrate. And as we're looking at the title, right, it says, "Is the housing market going to crash?" What the experts are saying. So I don't know who these experts are. These are probably, people that, maybe know a little bit about the economy and different things, but it was kind of interesting to look through it. So the key takeaways, it says mortgage rates are high and home prices are still rising, and we're going to blame the lack of supply. Cool. Like I agree with that. Absolutely. Like mortgage rates are the highest they've been in many, many years. And they are really not having any impact on home prices at this point. And it truly is because we have a supply and demand issue. Economists predict that any market correction will be modest and not on the scale as the Great Recession. All right, so they're not saying that there will be a correction, but they're also not ruling it out. But they're saying there's not going to be any big magnitude. And I think that's kind of interesting as we're going through and we're talking about this because, depending on what you go on to, there's all these crash. I'm gonna go with crash bros. There's these crash bros out there that are, calling for this market crash, and in all reality, there's nothing pointing that way. So if there is any correction, they're saying it would be modest. And it says experts do not expect a housing market crash. They just said if there is a correction, it will be modest. But then they're also saying there's not going to be a crash due to low inventory, strict lending standards, and other factors. And I think we have to keep in mind, right? If we were to go back and we were to look and keep in mind the movie The Big Short, right? And again, I know I've mentioned this a few times, but if you haven't seen The Big Short, that's your homework assignment. Like go out and watch The Big Short because that's going to show you how different the market is today versus when we did have that the market crash that we all got to experience back in 2006 through 2008 time period. So we're looking at this and it's going through some data. What was interesting though is you look at it and where did it go? Right here. So prices increased once again in March, according to the National Association of Realtors and AR, which reports that the median existing home price were up 4.8% over last year. So that's interesting. And what I like about this number, up 4.8% over last year, is this. We know that we measure a lot of stuff in average or median. All right. So we average or we go and we look at these numbers, we crunch these numbers and we base it off of two different things. Average is interesting because average is taking all the numbers, right? It's saying that, this house sold for X amount of dollars and the highest home that sold was for X. And then it's doing is it's adding up all the houses, dividing by the total, and it comes up with the average. That's how we get an average. Well, what's interesting, if we look at this number, this is saying the median. So the median is up 4.8% over last year. So what this did was this went through, it took out all the outliers. It took out all the outliers and it worked its way into that middle number. And it's saying that middle number is actually 4.8% higher this year than it was last year. So we're looking at this, and this is what's interesting about it. We know what interest rates are, right? We're north of 7% right now, and home prices are still going up. Think about that. And this is why I truly don't believe that we're going to ever see a major crash in the probably ever in all reality. I mean, unless something catastrophic happens, right? Like we're talking war, right? Something breaks out to where it has a huge impact on us. We're not going to see anything go down. And so we're looking at this thing 4.8% median home price upwards year over year, 7+% interest rates. And it truly is going back to supply and demand. We have to keep in mind that home builders are not building to the magnitude of which they were building back when we had the crash that we had, because they're a for-profit company. There's not enough homes for sale. And we have two things that are happening to our population that are increasing it. Firstly, we do have people migrating into the United States, right? Like people are moving into the United States, however they are moving into it, which is causing a shortage of homes. And the other thing is people are still having babies, right? Like that's the two things that are increasing our population is that we have migration into the United States and people are still having children. And unless one of those stop, right? Like people stop having babies, which I don't think that that's going to happen unless, something again catastrophically weird happens, or we close down and we don't let anyone migrate into the United States, which I can't imagine that we're going to see that either, because we're actually seeing the effects on like Japan and some of these other countries that have really strict immigration policies to where they're actually going to be in a really bad position over the next few years because their population is on a decline, and since they're not allowing people to migrate in, like their population is going to be very very scarce. And if we were to scroll all the way down, we look at this. Here's the key takeaway. According to Bankrate, on this national survey of large lenders, the average mortgage interest rate 7.33% as of the 17th, so as of last week. Okay, cool, whatever. Existing home sales fell 4.3%. So again, we're actually seeing less houses sell, and we are seeing this because we do know that buyers are being more discerning. And so not any house sells, and that's why it comes to us, and we're going through, we're having these listing consults, and we're making sure that our sellers understand, like, if this needs to be painted, it needs to be painted. We need to get these rooms cleaned up. We need to have it professionally cleaned. We need to do all these different things to put it in the best light that we possibly can, because not every home is selling. So 4.3% less homes sold. Nationwide median price increased. Nationwide 393. Obviously, this is not Colorado data at 393 because I'm a buyer at that point all day long in Colorado. In March, the housing market had 3.2 months of inventory. All right, so look at this. This is also very important data that we have to keep in mind. And when we talk about a buyer's market, a seller's market, or a balanced market, this is the only number that matters. The only number that matters. We talk about supply, months of supply. And so when we're talking about 3 months of supply, that's a seller's market. Then when we get, to 5 or 6 months, that's what's considered a healthy market. We're nowhere near this. And again, we have to keep in mind of the homes that we're seeing for sale. And while the inventory is going up, we're not seeing enough people take it off the market, but we're also not seeing a huge increase of homes hitting the market at the same time. So 5 or 6 months is what we'd consider balanced, and we want to see a balanced market because a balanced market means that there's more opportunity for our buyers, and that we actually do see that price correction, if you will, to where there's more opportunity and more availability. And then it says a total of 96,000 U.S. homes and foreclosure filing default notices, scheduled auctions, or bank repossession. Guys, like, this number is really, really low. They're saying this is up 2.6% from the fourth quarter of 2023, but down 0.4% from the first quarter of 2023. This number isn't huge. And so what we're looking at is we're actually seeing that most people, when we scroll back up to this right here, and we talk about strict lending standards, if we were to look back, they're not lending to people just because they have a pulse and they can fog a mirror, which is why we got into the issue that we got back in, the 2005 through 2008 kind of area. So we don't have lending that is lax. We have strict lending. And so with that, as well as the amount of money that are on people's balance sheets, when we talk about equity, people have more equity than they've ever had in their homes, right? With a very, very small exception with the people that bought at the height of 2021, when they were offering $100,000 over asking and not looking for any concessions or anything. They may be underwater, but this is the thing. They're only underwater if they go to sell their house, right? They can't refinance. They can't do other things. They're not going to lose money. So we have some of the strongest balance sheets on homes that we've ever had. And it is because of how strict our lending practices are. So let me go into Housing Wire, and this came out today. It says new home sales fared well in March. It says market headwinds haven't dampened demand on annualized sales, which grew 8.8% from February. So if we look at this and we talk about new home sales, this is an important conversation. And a couple of things is we're actually seeing this being the perfect storm for new home builders. And what I mean by that is this: what we typically see in a normal market, we're going to use a normal market, is that people go out and they have enough inventory to go choose from. Interest rates are, 5, 6%, and you have all these options out there. And so you just go buy the house that meets your needs. Well, new builds are playing in a different arena than the resale market at this point. And so we just talked about interest rates, and we will look at interest rates a little bit deeper, but let's call them 7%. So when you go to get a new build, you go and you talk to your lender of choice, or no, I'm sorry, not your new build. You go talk to your lender when you're looking at a resale home. So just a home that's on the market, home right off the MLS. And you go and you talk to your lender, and your lender's offering 7%. And that home comes with all of its faults and the age of the home and everything else. That's 7%. Well, when you go and you talk to a new build, they typically have a preferred lender, and their preferred lender is doing something with them, but you're pretty much using the new build's money. And so it's new build money, new builds being their own bank. And what they're able to do at this time is they're able to give incentives that are they're in the realm of percentages. And they're saying that they're offering at, 5%, 6%. And they're truly undercutting what a bank can do at this point. And back in the day, they just used to go through and they would be like, hey, here's a refrigerator, here's an appliance package, here you can do whatever, X amount of dollars in builder upgrades, right? That's kind of some of the things that they used to do. Well, now what they're doing is they're competing at a level to where a bank can't compete at them. So we're actually seeing that mix change pretty significantly at this point. And not where we're going to see new builds rise and ever beat resales, but we're seeing them take a disproportionate amount compared to what they used to take. And so we're going to continue to see this as long as interest rates are high, because they're playing a different game and they're able to offer different incentives. And those incentives at this point come as a percentage of cost of money. So the cost of money for a new build is lower than what it is for a resale at this point, just because the banks or the builders are their own bank. So let's get into it. And let's look at Housing Wire, and let's go over rear view facing data. And again, what we're doing is we're looking at this information that came out Friday, and it is from the week prior. So we're looking at week old information because, again, we don't have crystal balls, and this is what's going to actually help us be able to navigate. It says housing inventory finally hit his target, which is Logan Moshami, the lead economist for Housing Wire. And it says last week mortgage rates are now over 7.25%. And it says, of course, what is different this year versus last year is that the new listing data is growing. And this is why, like, if we were to think about this, we have motivated sellers at this point. They got tired. The sellers and buyers are tired. They've been hearing CNN, they've been hearing Fox, they've been hearing Twitter, they've been hearing YouTube, they've been hearing wherever they get their news from about the crash that's coming, about the silver tsunami, about the Airbnb bust, about how interest rates are going to drop. Remember all those real estate agents that went out and they were like, date the rate, marry the house, date the rate, marry the house? That hasn't happened. And so all of this information has been coming out, and these people have been hanging out on the sidelines and hanging out on the sidelines. They can't hang out anymore. There's motivating factors that is causing people to list their house. And this is why we're seeing, even though interest rates are going up, they're like, I gotta sell my house. There's something that's going on in their world, which is motivating them to put their home on the market. And maybe they've been waiting, and maybe they've been waiting, and they're like, I can't wait anymore. This is what we're seeing. So even though interest rates have gone up, prices are still going up, and we're actually seeing more inventory on the market, which is interesting. So we look at this and we go through it. It says weekly housing data. It says weekly inventory change, April 12th to the 19th. Again, this was last week's data, rose from 526 to 543 nationally. So we're seeing more and more homes hit the market, which is solid. That week for the last year went from 406 to 414. We got more than 100,000 more homes nationwide with higher interest rates right now than we did last year. So again, it's because of fatigue. It's because people are getting exhausted waiting for the crash or the correction or the bubble, the burst. Like they're realizing that it's not coming and I can't wait any longer. All-time inventory bottom in 2022 was 240,000. Cool, we're double that, which is exciting. Inventory peak in 2023 was 570,000. So as we're getting into the spring market, and again, Colorado's market has looked a little bit different, but if we were to look nationally right now, there's been a lot of weather events and a lot of things that are happening. We're we're going to beat this number. Like we will have more homes listed. If I were to get out my crystal ball, we will have more inventory in 2024 than we did in 2023. We are getting into the beginning of the spring market at 543, and the most homes we had on the market in 2023 was 570. And then for context, we're going to go back to 2015. We had over 1 million homes for sale. So again, we like to look pre-2019 because that's pre-pandemic. That's what we would consider a normal market, but then before things got weird. And so we had 1 million homes on the market in 2015. So we're roughly half of that right now. So we're on the way up, and here's your visual of this, right? Like this visual shows you something. Here we are right here in 2024, and here's the peak of the market back in 2019 at over 1 million homes. We have a far way to go, but this is what we want to see. We want more and more inventory on the market. We want more of a balanced market. We will see more buyers and more sellers coming out, because this is the thing. While we think that, oh no, sellers aren't going to sell their houses, their prices are going down, we have to keep in mind that they're also buyers. Historically and traditionally speaking, sellers become buyers. And so while we think that they want to get top dollar, we also have to make sure that we're educating them that when they sell their house, they have to buy a home. And what are they going to buy if prices have continued to rise? So new listing data, we look in 2024, new listings have hit the market, 69,000, 2023, 59,000, 2022, 59,000. And this is for that same week over the last 3 years. So this is good. We're seeing more people listing homes. This is what we need to be in a healthier market. Here's just your visual representation of that 2023 versus 2022. We're seeing that we've increased it, which is good. This is exciting stuff. Price cuts, right? We look at price cuts and we know that 1/3 of all homes nationwide take a price cut. Historical data, right? 1/3 of all homes nationwide do take a price cut. And right now we're sitting at 32%. So we're sitting at a third, right? 1% less than a third. 2023, we're at 29%, 2022, 18%. And again, if we were to look at this, this is the snapshot in time. What we're going to see as we progress through 2024 and we start looking at this number for 2022 will go up, right? This number will go up. And because keep in mind what happened in 2022. Interest rates in the beginning were low. And then we had that monstrous increase, right? We had a huge pivot on what the interest rates did. And it was just pretty much overnight. We've never seen interest rates go up so fast in the history of the United States with our mortgage rates. We've never seen it. That was an historic swing that it did. And that's why we're seeing 18%. But I'm telling you right now, as we progress, this 22 line is going to go up significantly higher. We're going to get closer to 30% as the year progresses. So here we are. We can just kind of see this little bit of a swing as it's showing with the price drops. We're not going to talk about the 10-year yield as or the treasury as we're looking at this thing, but purchase application data. It says one surprising data point from last week was purchase application data showed positive growth. And that is interesting, right? We're talking about interest rates are the highest they've been in a little while now. And we're actually seeing people go talk to your lender. And again, it's the season that we're in. Historically speaking, this is when people start waking up. They start go buying houses. They start selling houses. Like we are in home buying season. Like if you were a professional sports team, you're in season right now, and you need to be making sure that you're taking as much mind share as possible, because people are actually thinking about buying and selling houses. The weather's getting nice. They're out on walks. They're out on drives. They got the convertible top down. They're doing different things. They are seeing houses. And somebody's coming across and they're thinking, is this the time to buy? And you need to be making sure that you're taking as much mind share to become the real estate economist of choice. These people are coming to you so you can help them navigate these times. And so purchase application data went up. Interest rates are high. The Fed, the Fed is backing off of dropping interest rates at this point, right? Like they're slowly but surely backing away from dropping interest rates. They're not saying they're going to raise them, even though we're seeing mortgage rates go up. And they're not talking about these cuts anymore because we're not seeing anything positive that's moving the needle downward. We keep seeing the cost of our money get more and more expensive because we're also seeing our money being devalued. So as we're going through, and a lot of things do that, right? Like we were look at this, one of the big things, and while we haven't seen the impact on this yet, guys, we got to think about what just got approved through the House last week was that $65 billion aid package. Guys, this is the thing. Like they're not going to the bank and they're not taking $65 billion out and moving it. They're printing it. Like they're taking it, they're making $65 billion. They put paper into a printer. They're making $65 billion. They're putting it in duffel bags. They're probably putting it actually on pallets, but they're putting it in pallets and they're taking it to these other countries. Like that's literally what's happening. And they're dropping off these pallets of money. So with that, they printed money. They're devaluing our currency, right? And so that's actually what's playing into this as well. So yes, like we have some of the highest yeah, that's why people think money is fake. Well, it is fake, right? I mean, the U.S. government can go out and they can do whatever they want with our money. We took it off the gold standard, and so really it is just paper at this point. And so when we're going through and we're thinking about these people putting all these charges on their credit cards, and so we have the highest credit card balances that we've ever had as a country. We do have people, and what we're going to also see, like as this year unfolds, and so watch this. What you guys are going to see is you guys are going to see actually probably some cars getting repoed this year, because some of these car payments are astronomical, and these people went out and they got these cars because they needed cars or they wanted new cars, and they're not going to be able to keep up with those payments, and so you will see some cars get repossessed this year. I'm telling you right now, that will make the news. And then we also have these aid packages going out. And so our money is being devalued, devalued, devalued. And so that's not going to encourage the Fed to drop rates, because if they drop rates and people start spending more money and they say, well, I got a lot of money, so I'm going to keep spending it, the value of the dollar is going to keep going down and down and down. So that's why they're backing off of this right now. But this is the thing, like as we're going through and we're doing this, we need to be having conversations because people are having fatigue sitting on the sideline. They have motivating events that are happening in their life that they're going to raise their hand, right? We have people getting married, we have people having babies, we have people getting job promotions, they are getting transferred. There's death, there's divorce, there's all kinds of motivating factors on why people have to sell their houses. And we're in the season. This is your season. We need to be having as many conversations as possible to be that real estate economist of choice. This is very interesting. Like, this is probably one of the most interesting lines that we saw. Purchase application data goes up as interest rates went up, and home prices are going up. We can't follow the same supply and demand and everything that we've been taught in school and what we're hearing on the media. Like, this is actually real data. So we need to be going out there and having conversations. So for the week ahead, and again, this data came out on Friday because it was the week prior and they launched it. So it says we have new home sales and pending home sales coming up this week, and we will see how much the recent rate increase has impacted the data line. Also, the Fed's main inflation report for PCE inflation data will be released on Friday. So next Friday it will be released. And keep in mind what was also happening, right? We also saw with this going on last week, we also saw Israel retaliate against Iran. And so 2 weeks ago, we saw the Iron Dome being tested, right? We saw Iran shelling Israel, and Israel was pretty much shooting them all down. And then Iran on Sunday said, okay, we're done. And I said, unless Israel responds. And then we went through the whole week with nothing. And then Friday, Israel responded. And so also we're going to kind of see kind of what some of those things did to us as we're going through. And we also don't know what this week's going to hold as well. So here it is, right? And so we just look at this, and this came out from the 16th. But again, it's Powell makes it clear, no rate cuts anytime soon. This is just important, right? This came out last week, and this came after we got the data. And when we saw that we're still spending money and we're still devaluing the dollar, we will not see any rate cuts. They're not saying that they won't do them, but they're saying that there's no timeline for it anymore. They're like, you know what, we still have three that we said we were going to do. We can't imagine that we're going to do them though. With everything else that's happening, we can't imagine doing any rate cuts. And really, it's just because everything is going through. It says right now, given the strength of the labor market, and that's one of the biggest things, we have a Fed, and this Fed is a job loss recession Fed, right? They're following data lines from like the 1970s, and they think that the only way that they can curb inflation is if people start losing jobs. And what this is saying right here is that too many people in the United States have jobs. Like that's what this is saying. Too many people are employed in the United States right now. And unless people start losing their jobs, we are not going to make the cost of money any cheaper. Literally what this says right here. It says the labor market remains very strong. The employment rates have been 4% for or below 4% for 26 consecutive months, which hasn't happened in more than half of a century. This is the longest streak of its kind. So again, with data like this, with people having jobs that want jobs, they're not going to raise or they're not going to drop rates because too many people have money is really what this is saying. The federal government wants to see people lose their job, or the Fed wants to see people lose their job before they start dropping rates. So let's look at those mortgage rates. Like we're looking at this thing, we're at 7.1%. And so we're looking at this Tuesday, and I don't know if this is Tuesday data, this is yesterday's data. So this was as of Monday. And we're looking at it. We can see the 30-year conventional loan is up. A 15-year conventional loan is down. The jumbo loan is down, and FHA loan is down. Not much, but it's still down. We look at this in 1 year, right? We have year-to-date data. This is from January 2nd, because obviously the first was a holiday. And we were able to scroll, and I lied to you, that's not from the first. Let's do that. There you go. There's from the first, really from the second. But if we were to look at this is what we've done. We've kind of tracked up. So we were a little bit lower, and we've just kind of increased month over month over month. We're going up, we're going up, we're going up. And the reason for this is truly because we're still spending money. Aid packages going out, credit card debt the way that it is. People went out and bought cars, they bought houses, they did all these different things, and the Fed is trying to stop them from spending as much money as they are. So we're going through and we're looking at it. This is some of the conversations that we need to be having. We need to be very well aware of this. And this is why also it's very, very important to understand where the new builds are that are offering incentives, because you do have people on the sidelines that are interested in purchasing a house. They just don't think they can afford it. But then we also look and we see that this is the highest it has been all year, right? This is high data. But then we also see the purchase application data went up. People actually last week went out to see what they qualified for a house. Now you have to keep in mind, you have to ask yourself, were those any of your clients? Did any of your clients go out and reach out to a lender, go out onto, Zillow, Realtor.com, ask for a rate that you were not a part of? So we're looking at it. It's going up. It's going up. It's going up. We need to make sure that we know our lender partners. So we're having conversations with them, that we understand what incentives they have to drop this down. We need to know what new builds are at and where they are in our community and the incentives that they have as well, and get on their email list, guys. Like, they are more than willing to put everybody on an email list to let them know what houses, what incentive, what pricing there is, and then be able to disseminate that information. Right? What does it look like to have all these builders send you this information and say, hey guys, my 3 new build opportunities for the week, right? And we send out an email that says that you have 3 communities that are offering, 5%. Reach out to me if you have any interest, right? Like, you're not going to give the houses or the places or the builders or anything, but you're doing stuff to go out there and fish and to get more people to raise their hand. But you need to have the data. You need to be able to have the conversations for you to be able to get to that point. Then we look at it and we look at let's go 7.1. So we're in Arvada. It's Tuesday. This is up-to-date data. The median list price, right? So the median list price has gone down a little bit. So we're at, for Arvada, $729,000. The price of new listings hitting the market, 654,000. The dollar per square foot, we're sitting at $297 per square foot with an average day sitting 66 and a median day of 21. The median's actually going down, it looks like a little bit, maybe flatline, while the average is going up. And keep in mind, the two difference in these numbers is we have people not listing their home for a reasonable amount of money, and we have discerning buyers. So we're going through and it's saying, like, if you're not listing your home for the right amount of money, you're going to sit a little bit longer, almost 3 times as long for the houses that are priced right. Because again, we're looking at an average. They're just taking it all, they're dividing it by the total. We get the average. For the median, this is the middle number, middle ground. We take out all the outliers and we work our way into the middle. We're sitting at 21 days, 1/3 of the time of the average if we price our home right and make sure it's presentable. 32% of homes in Arvada have a price decrease. So we're right in line with the national average of 1/3 of all homes. 3% price increase. Again, we don't care about this. This is just saying new builds. For the most part, this is new builds hitting the market and they have a price increase. They're doing maybe phase 2, maybe phase 3. This is what this is. Relisted home, 2%. These have fallen out of contract. So 2% of all the houses have fallen out of contract, have come back, discerning buyers again. Inventory is at 113. Median rent is 3,100, which I think is a very important number to keep in mind as well. And it's scoring at 63 out of 100, which is interesting because that's how they score whether we're in a buyer's market or seller's market on their data. And if we look at this is, I feel like, the first time in many, many weeks that we've looked at this, where we're pretty much in line with where we were last week. We've been seeing stronger selling market. This is kind of leveled out at this point, or last month, I'm sorry. So we finally have gotten to a point where off of all the data right here that they're scoring us on with their data, they're saying that we are right in line with where we were last month, and they're giving it a 63 sellers market, which again, we know we're in a seller's market. So let's go find a house. So we're going to base this off of 7.18%. We're going to go into Arvada and let's go with the median list price of, let's go 654. So let's go 654 at 7.1. So here we are, we're just on our site. We're on our KW site. We're going through. We are in Arvada. So here we are. And what did I say, 654? Yeah, 654. Here's 650. It doesn't say it's new. You know what? Let's go 645. This is coming soon. This is a house that has going to be coming onto the market. We're at 4-bedroom, 3-bath, 2,100 square feet. It's an 8 triple lot 4. Let's go take a look at this thing. So we're looking at a Hutchinson home, right? We're just looking at a ranch house in Arvada, Hutchinson, 1-car garage, hardwood floors, I'm assuming through the whole house. They didn't take down the wall to the kitchen. So this has been a lived-in home from the 1960s. They did update the kitchen back in the 80s. So we got a brand new 80s kitchen in here that doesn't match the rest of the house. Newer appliances, just hardwoods all upstairs. They did do some updates. This isn't a bad looking house. It's just the updates, right? We're talking Home Depot updates. This was actually probably flipped. I would say probably in the early 2000s. If I were to guess, I would say this house was flipped in like 2012. I haven't looked at this house, but that's what my guess would be. All right, so we're pretty close to the medium price point. Let's look at 645. Let's go in and put this thing in. We're talking 7.1%. So 7.1% here in Arvada, 30-year fixed loan. If we were to bring 6% down, which we're probably going to have to be closer to 20, let's go closer to 20%. So we're at 20% down on a conventional loan. That means we have to bring $129,000 at 7.1%, which means our monthly payment is $3,864. In Arvada, for a 1960s home. And if we were to look at it, right, we go back and we look at the median rent price is $3,100. This is what's going through our buyer's head right now. They can go buy a house for $3,800 per month, or they can go rent a house for $3,100 and hope that there's a market crash or something going on. So that's where we need to be very educated and be able to show these different line items to our clientele, to our customers, people in our social media accounts, that as we're going through, yes, I get it, that you're seeing that your monthly payment's going to be this and the rent's going to be here, but we have to talk about appreciation. We have to talk about equity. We have to talk about all of these different things that are going into play. Because again, $3,400 is going to principal. HO or home insurance is $125, property taxes $271. This is what's going on to this payment. Now, what gets weird, like let's go into FHA, let's change the number around. So we go FHA, let's turn it to 6.8. Should be really 6.9. Let's call it 6.9. So 6.9, and let's go 6%. Let's just say that our first-time home buyer has 6%, $38,000. That's a $38,700. Look at their price. Look at their monthly payment, guys. We went to $4,743 a month for a 1960s home that looks pretty good. Like in the grand scheme of things, it's a good looking house. But this is what they are measuring everything against. They're seeing this. They're seeing what they're paying for rent right now. And these are the conversations that they're having. And this is what gets a little bit weird about it, right? They're paying this PMI, $354 a month. This is just an insurance policy to protect the lender because they're only putting down 6%. Now, again, I think I mentioned this last time, and I haven't done any deeper research on it, but I did see something where they're working on buyers no longer having to pay PMI. Now, I don't know what that looks like. Like I said, I haven't dug too deep into it yet, but they're looking for a way to find if they can put something in place to where buyers aren't having to cover this expense anymore, which is huge, right? That's $354 that will come out of the 400 or 4,743, which isn't a huge savings, but in the grand scheme of things, I mean, that's north of $4,000 a year that they would be saving every year until they get that thing down to that 80/20. This is what is going through our buyers' heads, and we need to be able to go through and have conversations, show different things. And this is where I think it's crucial in this current environment that we're in to understand that we're looking at 7% for a 1960s home, or what incentives are out there for a brand new house with a new build. What can you get? Can you get down to a 6%, a 5%? What other incentives are they offering? We have to be able to understand where these deals are and be able to educate. And maybe we're doing a side by side, right? Like we're showing like, here's 645 brand new build, here's 645 for a single family detached home, 1960s, 2024, and we're going through and we're doing some different things to show them the differences. All interesting stuff, guys. Like as we're going through and we're doing these different things, purchase application data going up. We're seeing prices still go up. We saw purchase application data go up. Inventory is going up. Like we're seeing all these things going up, and they shouldn't be. And it is, again, because I think we saw so much fatigue, so many people sitting on the sideline. So again, we need to make sure that we're just pushing out data. We're showing people what's going on. We're showing people what the price points are. We're showing them the deals that are there. We're educating, we're educating, we're educating. And we're making sure that they understand they can come to us. And again, I can't stress this enough. Like, what are we doing to make sure that we're sending out emails to our client list, right? Like, are you going through and, hey, the deal of the day, I got this. And so if a lender has, or a new build has a home that is the last one, it's a build, and they're offering, $50,000 incentive on it, and they're offering credits on the house to where they're going to be able to get you in, 5-6%. What does it look like to deal of the day this thing? Send it out to your client list. And when they reach out, right, you can let them know. But the thing that goes through and it says deal of the week, deal of the month, like whatever the frequency you want to do. And you say 2024 home or built in 2024, $50,000 markdown, $100,000 markdown, interest rates as low as X%. Reply to this email if you're interested. guys, and you're going to see the people that are interested, and right, like that's huge. People will be raising their hand, like you're providing service to them. Feel free to send a photo of like the inside of the kitchen or the whatever. Don't give out too much information. Like don't say this build or this whatever. Like you don't want any of that information going out, but you will have people raise their hand and reach out to you and say, I'm interested in that. Can you share a little bit more with me? Awesome. Have you talked to the lender yet? Right? Like you're going through and you're qualifying your people, and you're just coming from contribution. You're just sending out this information. You can do this for anything, right? Like let's say that you get on something where you find the deal of the day and it is a fix and flip opportunity. You're running cap rates, you're doing all these different things, and you're just firing it off. Just a little bit of information, guys. You will be surprised with the amount of people that come out of the caves and the rocks that they've been under saying, what? I've actually been thinking, and this deal actually might sound right. Or they're just in the beginning initial process of the stages of this, and you get to be the person to navigate them through.